So hello everyone, welcome to our session on student choice. My name is Hannah Walsh. I teach 4th grade in Scotts Valley, Vine Hill Elementary. Christine is here as my moderator. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and interrupt me, that's fine. Or you can put it in the chat and Christine will make sure that I see things. If I don't see it in the chat, she will go ahead and interrupt me. I tend to talk fast and quickly, so we will have lots of times for questions. So do not feel bad about interrupting. If I'm going to get to it later, I will do so. So this presentation is about how we can give our students choice when we're working with them through online in this distance learning. It's listed in the program as being for assessment, but I'm also going to talk about ways to give choice in the exploring phase of a lesson plan or a unit, because I think that's so very valuable, and really this format can be adapted in lots of different ways. So if there's something in particular that you want to get out of this presentation or something you have a question about, and you already know you want to know the answer to that, go ahead and ask that question now or put it into the chat, and I will make sure I touch on it as we go. Oh, we got some people working on their patio. It's on there. And a little bit of a background on me. I am by no means an expert on this. I was thrown into distance learning with my 4th graders, like everybody, in March, and I'm learning as I go. And so I attended the CUE virtual conference in May and learned a lot about HyperDocs and edu protocols and a lot of other different formats and some things I really loved. I did a training with my district over the summer and got picked to bring this to here at the county's boot camp day. So a lot of this is what I've learned from other people, and I'm just beginning to try it out with my students. A lot of this comes from Lisa Heifel and the people at hyperdocs.co, and I will link to that later on. I think it's a great place to get started with your exploring. All right. If you like to follow along in a presentation, this bit.ly link, and it's in the chat, will give you your own copy of this, and you can feel free to skip ahead and click on things and start to make your own. I find these online tech trainings really helpful. If I start creating as I'm listening and as I go, because then I'm really using the information right away, and I can look very quickly, tell if it's going to work for me and how I want to change it to fit my style and my students. And as I said, go ahead and interrupt me with questions if you have them, or put them into the comments. So we want people to enjoy distance learning, giving kids choices to increase their interest and empowerment. Yes, exactly. Also, my theme of the day is that we know how to do this. We know how to teach, and so we're just finding those ways to adapt it online. We already know what these best methods are for our kids, so we're going to work on doing that here in the online thing the best way we can. So here's our agenda for today. We'll talk about why, when, and how you want to give your students choice in this online environment. We'll look at multimedia tech sets and choice boards, and then talk about some tips and tricks for how to make this look good and how to look like the tech genius on your campus, which is a mixed blessing, being the tech genius in your department or on your campus. And again, so much of this is from Lisa Heifel of hyperdocs.co. They have a wonderful website that organizes hyperdocs, which are these hyperlinked documents that go through your lesson format. If you sign up, it is free, and you get access to a whole bunch of samples and provided documents and links, and they just ask that you give credit to the person who has created it. Their philosophy is teachers give teachers. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. A bunch of this is already available, and I'll show you some resources for that. So choice. Why do we want to do choice? Well, it's engaging, it's fun, and it's motivational. We're all different learners and have different interests, and we want to give students, acknowledge that in our students as well. And it's more authentic of a way to learn. If I'm interested in a subject, I'm going to, watch a video and then another video and then look something up in Wikipedia and then click on something in there, and I go down this rabbit hole. And students will often do the same thing. If I am excited about something, or if I want to create something, I'm going to have some choices about what's the best way to do that, the best format. We want to give students those choices as well. We want them to learn how to make those choices and practice with those choices. When do we want to give some choice? I'm going to talk about two particular points. One might be in the explore or the input phase of your lesson. It kind of depends on your lesson plan pedagogy, what it's going to be called. This is maybe at the beginning of a unit when we want to get students a chance to really get into some information and kind of flood them with information about it beforehand, maybe before you start a novel study or a unit of history study. Or maybe this is a way that you want to input a lot of information that they're going to be using for later assignments. Another time in your lesson flow or unit plans that you might want to give some choice is at the apply phase, or the output or independent work, or the assessment phase, or the show what you know, final cumulative project. However it is that you're organizing your lessons and your units, that final project, we can give our students some choices with that. Some things about tips for how. We're going to create some hyperlinked docs and slides that give the students options for how they're going to learn about the material and how they're going to present it at the end. And tables are your friends for how to make these look professional and interesting. So the first type of ways to give choice is a multimedia tech set. This is a way to organize a lot of different resources to give to your students. And I'll show you an example of one I've created for my 4th graders. This is my Fable multimedia tech set. We do a unit on fables at the beginning of the year. We practice writing summaries. It's a good introductory unit because in 4th grade, they need to, it's after summer, they need to know that, yes, your paragraph needs to be written out of sentences. So some chances, it's an easy way to get into that format and get that going. So this I would give at the beginning of a unit. And I have my kind of defining question here. What is a fable, or what makes a story a fable? And then I've given my students a bunch of different resources and ways to engage with fables. So I have a YouTube video of a reading of a fable, or a collection of books on Get Epic, epic books of fables. There's a map of ancient Greece, nonfiction article in Newsella on ancient Greece, another video of a fable, fables from around the world, an article on Aesop. So these are all ways to get into the idea of fables and explore some different fables. When I give this to my students, I'm going to want to give them a time limit. Otherwise, it can be too overwhelming. You will have those overachieving students who think they need to read all 20 fables in your epic books collection and read every single thing on the myths and fables around the world, and they will get overwhelmed. And then you have students who will start the videos and then go down a video rabbit hole and end up on a totally off topic. So give them a time limit. I'd say 10 minutes for this one because it involves kind of a lot of videos and reading and things, and like it's a good amount of time to get started, but not enough time to get distracted. And then give them a place to respond. So that's our middle box here that connects to a Padlet where they're going to answer this question about what is a fable, or ask their own questions or give their opinions. And this is a way for me to gather their information and see where they're going with their thoughts. If this was a science unit, maybe I'm going to connect to a bunch of different resources, and the questions on the Padlet are going to help me know what my focus question is going to be for that unit. And I can tailor my later lessons depending on what's in there. So lots of different resources, time limit to really kind of focus them, and a place to respond. You might give an initial time limit that's short. Maybe you're going to give them 2 minutes, but then afterwards they can go back, and that's a resource that's available to them to do later research in the topic. And just because we want to work with this, if we go click on this Padlet, I would like to find out what kind of tech tools do you like to use, and we'll share this in the chat. One of the best things about these tech workshops that I found is actually practicing using things. So Padlet is a way where students can post answers to a question or pictures around something. It is free to create an account, and you can create up to 3. If you don't plan to save them, that's plenty. If you're a person who likes to make all 24 that you're going to use for the first semester, then you're probably going to want an account so you can save them. So I would love to have you click on this and add to it. Some of the things that came up in our earlier session is Pear Deck, Flipgrid being super fun. We used a lot of Flipgrid this spring. Edpuzzle is great for showing videos. You upload a video and you can create breaks in it where you ask questions and the students interact with it. If you use Mystery Science, it's essentially like creating that kind of video where there'll be a section of the video and then a question and then another section of the video. Excited about creating hyperdocs. Me too. I'm all about the hyperdocs today. My favorite, this one was mine. My favorite was quizzes. If you haven't explored that, that is fun and the students love it. People are working on Jamboard and Bitmojis. I just learned like last week that Bitmojis are essentially a hyperdoc, and you could totally create a Bitmoji that is these choices that your students have instead of making it a table. Oh, we're getting some questions that are coming up. So what's Mystery Science and what's hyperdocs? Thanks, Sierra. Mystery Science is a paid online science curriculum. Our district has paid it to supplement our science as we are adapting to next gen science and trying to find a curriculum. And it essentially are these videos of a phenomenon like volcanoes, and they'll play a video and then ask a question and it will pause and give you time as the teacher to facilitate a discussion with your students, and then more of a video and then another question. And then there's also some hands-on activities. They go step by step with the students on how to do that. If you're looking for an online science system, it's pretty good. Hyperdocs are documents that have these hyperlinks in them that students can follow through the lesson. And I'll get back to more of that later on. I see a couple people are saying Kami. I have not heard of Kami before today, so I'd love to hear more about that. Interactive PDFs and slides. I'll have to check that one out. Mentimeter.com. Does anyone want to explain what that one is? That has just shown up here today.
It's really similar to what you can do with Pear Deck.
Oh,
It'll
nice.
allow you to sort of get a bunch of feedback. It basically creates those sort of interactive slides.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so we have some different ways to send. Some of these are going to be the same, different ways to achieve the same goal, and you're going to find the one that works for you or that your district's going to pay for. Sierra had a question about Mystery Science. Do you have to pay for it? Yes, you do have to pay for it. I don't know if they have some of the videos available to sample or to try out. You will have to Google it and try that one out. Well, I'm glad to see people are trying out and are excited about different these different tech tools that we can use. Okay, and I will come back to the hyperdocs question a little bit later. So if you were wanting to try a multimedia tech set, if you click on this link here, it brings up a whole bunch of different ones. And this is from Lisa Heifel as well, and I got it at the virtual Q conference. So if I am looking for, I'm like, oh, I teach 4th grade California history. There's the gold rush. I can click on that and already created for me, hopefully. There we have it. There's a multimedia tech set about the gold rush with lots of things for them to explore and watch and read and check out. And it has the credit to the person who created that down there. This might be a good place for you to start. You can click on here and find something that is related to your topic area and start with that instead of creating one from scratch. So those are our multimedia tech sets. All right, any questions before I move on to our next one? Another point in your lessons when you might want to give students some choice is at the end of the unit. When they're doing their culminating project, you want them to show what you know. So instead of linking to websites that have readings or videos on them, you're going to link to tools that students can choose from. And this is my sample one that I've created here. So I've created a table and I've linked to some of the tools that I've used in my classroom. So we've got your Google options on here, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sites, Google Maps. The students can create pins and link each pin to a different maybe document they've created related to your subject. Got Seesaw or Canvas on there. Padlet, maybe they're going to create a Padlet that's as if characters from a book are talking back and forth about something. Book Creator is one where you can create a book with images and sound and pictures, and the students can as well, or you can create one as a class. And there is a free level of service and then a premium level of service. Okay, Lucia's asking if we have, oh, there we go. Christine's on it. She's given a link to the slides. That's great. And then Flipgrid, you create a class account and students can post short videos on there. The way you want to make this successful, because the first time I'll do this, I will just give this to my students. It'll be totally overwhelming and it'll be an absolute disaster. So to avoid disasters, what you want to do is create some expectations and set those out clearly. And make sure that these are tools that your students are familiar with to begin with. So you want to have already used Flipgrid or Book Creator or Padlet or Google Maps. So they are familiar with the tools before you're going to give them so many choices. You also don't have to start with 10 different choices. You can start with 3 that are in there. So if I wanted my students, give them an option of using Flipgrid to create their final Fable project. I'm going to click on that. Instead of having that link directly to Flipgrid, I'm going to have it linked to the instructions. Because I want to set up those expectations. I don't want a video that's 45 seconds of my student wrestling with their brother and giggling hysterically. So this is, if you're going to, if you're going to do the Flipgrid assignment, here are your expectations. You're going to write your Fable. It's going to be this long. You're going to practice it. You're going to share it with 2 people. And then when you're ready, click here to record your Flipgrid video. And that would take them to the Flipgrid page where they could record their video. So you want to have clear expectations and instructions for all of their choices. And now you're going to think, well, now, great, now I've got 32 students and I have 32 different websites that they have put their assignments on. How am I going to assess all this? It's going to become very unwieldy. And I learned this wonderful way to collect the work in a Google form. So no matter what tool students are using, it ends up all in one place. I can show you how that works. So you have it somewhere, maybe in the middle, maybe you should make it a different color. They're going to submit their work. So they click on that and they get a Google form, they put in their name, and they're going to put a URL for their project. So I'm going to pretend like this Padlet is my project. And my student, Joe Schmo. So that's how they turn in their project once they're done. And then the way you can see it, and this did not link it like I wanted it to, but is that when you go to the teacher version of that, or the creator version of that form, click on responses and the spreadsheet, you get a spreadsheet of all of your students and their assignments, and it's time-stamped. So all in one place, you have links to whatever it is that your students did. One other tool that is useful, I think, for putting on here, one other option is you can have students insert a picture of their written or their built work. We want to give them chances to be off computers as well. So maybe you're going to have them create some artwork or create a collage, or maybe you're going to give them a design challenge, an engineering challenge. You can have them insert their pictures into a written work. So you can have them open a Google Doc and they're gonna need training on this. You're gonna need a little video explaining them how to do this and to their parents. Got to insert an image. I can insert something via my camera. So now if I have a web camera and it's not selected because it's not working, I can hold it up and it'll take a picture of that. So maybe I'll have a way for them to take a picture of their work because I want them to be off the computer.
Hey, Hannah. Sierra was wondering if you had the link to the Google form that you were just showing.
let me think about this. Yes, I should be able, maybe. Let me make a copy.
You could maybe do it at the end if that'd be easier, but
Yeah, I can make a copy and show that. If you are in your Google Drive, I can show you how to make one too. And click on New. There's Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. If you click on More, you get more options. So you can get Google Form that way and you can create a form. It was really helpful for math, for just kind of regular check-in daily work, because it grades it automatically.
Patricia also has a question about the Google form. Can you
Yes.
also grade in the Google form classroom assignment? Or the Google Classroom
Ooh.
assignment, sorry.
Turn in, that's to a copy of the Google form. If you turn in Google Form, can you also be graded in a Google Classroom assignment? I don't know. I haven't done it that way, but there might be a way to do that. That would work. There were some, Barbara asked a question about what tools are good for K-12. I would love to hear your expertise on that, because
Just
I am
K2, not K-12.
a teacher. I know that our primary teachers like Seesaw, and used that in their classroom before we went remote, and continued to use that. Flipgrid is a good one because they don't have to type anything. They're just recording it via their web camera or their parent's cell phone. The way Flipgrid works is you could set the settings so that only people with the email address of your school can access it. So those videos will never be shared on YouTube, copied, sent anywhere else. Only students in your class can see each other's. And you can change your settings if you don't even want them to see each other's. You just want them to be able to record for you. We had a primary art teacher in the first session, and she had the idea of giving them choices of different, maybe they want to do a collage or a drawing or different types of art assignments. I think having your students learn how to take a picture, or having their parents learn how to take a picture, could be really helpful. You could create a short little video explaining that for yourself, and send that video to the parents, like, here, this is how you turn in your work. This is, on the document, insert a picture this way, and show your work there. All right, got some great questions in there. How do you okay, Sierra says, how do you reconcile all these different technologies, since different students are using different ones, and there's so many different things, you do different things. Are there some that are better than others? Oh, that's the big question, Sierra. We're all trying to figure this out as we go, and trying to figure out what works best for us. I'd say pick one and try it out and see how it works. I tried Jamboard, and there were some people who said they really liked Jamboard. I tried it with my students, and it turned out it didn't work with students who were working on iPads that well. Maybe they fixed that problem, but that quickly became too much for us to deal with. So I had to find other ways to get kind of the same effect. So I'd pick one and try it out, and kind of try and have an attitude of, we're going to see if this works. And the first time you use something, make it very low stakes and make it something silly. And kind of own that, well, nope, that was a total disaster. Let's try again tomorrow, because it's going to happen. And I think it's very authentic teaching and really good community building if we can share that with our students. I definitely had days in the spring where I would try out something and it would totally bomb. And so I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to use that one. Let's try a different tool then. So that is it. Any other primary teachers here who would like to share what do they recommend for those primary students and their parents? Well, if we got some more, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll share them. A Zoom slide share. Ooh, sharing a Google slide. That is a good one. They will quickly learn how to search for images. So you could do some assignment where they are going to, find an image and then write about it at whatever level is appropriate for them. And they love to search for pictures. Right. So tips and tricks, things that I find. Hyperlinks and tables make you look like a tech genius. make things look nice. If you don't know how to create a hyperlink, it is, let me escape out of this mode. So in a doc or a Word document or a presentation, you highlight a word. And if I wanted to make that a hyperlink, I can click on this image. It looks like a little chain. I'm going to link things together. And then I'm going to paste in here whatever it is I wanted to link to. And now it's underlined and it's a different color and it becomes a hyperlink. And I can do the same thing with pictures. I clicked on this picture. I find the little link button. And then I've already linked this one. That on there. Ooh, hyperdocs. That's somebody asked a question about those. We'll get back to those. So if you can do hyperlinks, suddenly you look like a tech genius, which is not always a good thing, but it spruces things up a little, particularly if you use pictures. Very good for the primary kids is you can link pictures for things and teach them to follow through on those pictures. If you want to make your page a different color in a document, you can change the background color. Slides is easy to do. It has a background option, but for let me find a good example. For a regular document, I want to make it look pretty. I want to make it stand out or look different. I go to File and Page Setup, and now I can change the page color. And this can be useful so that you can make sure kids are on the same page. Are you looking at the blue one? You're looking at the red one. To make all these different assignments stand out from each other. Make sure you check your share permissions before you are going to try one of these lessons for both your main slide or document and anything it links to. And if let me try a different one. So if go to my share button here. The first time your default might be set to nobody can see this unless you give them explicit permission. You want to change that. And you'll have some choices to being restricted, people within your email system, your school system, or anyone with this link. Unless I have a reason not to, I always go with anyone with the link because sometimes students are on their parents' devices or they're logged into their parents' Google accounts or their Gmail accounts. Or sometimes parents want to be able to view things so that they understand the assignment, depending on your grade level and how closely the parents are involved. So I let anyone with the internet share this link. There's nothing on here that connects with any personal information. And think about if you want people to be viewers or editors. In this case, I want them to follow the links. I don't want them to change anything. So I make sure that they're viewers on here. So think about what you want your students to be able to do and what those permissions should look like. And another resource for these choice boards is a friend shared this with me right after the last presentation. It's from Simple K-12. It's another slideshow like this with tips and advice and a lot of examples of different types of choice boards. And then hyperdocs. Someone asked about hyperdocs earlier, so let me share about that. This is a presentation I did on hyperdocs, and it's linked here. You can go through and follow that through. A hyperdoc is a document or a slide presentation that has these hyperlinks, and you take your student through your lesson plan following those hyperlinks. So you might have something you want students to, you might start with a short video to engage them. And then you might link to your Multimedia Tech Set and have them explore a topic a bunch of ways. And then you have a link to a Pear Deck that is your lesson of what you want to teach them. And then you link to the book creator that you want them to do the assignment on, or the choice board for your assessments. And then you link to, some math puzzle games or something like that. And so hyperdocs.co is created by Lisa Heifel and some other wonderful people. And they have templates and samples of all these different hyperdocs that you might want to use. And these are great because they can pivot between online and in-person learning very easily. And you can, it's not going to work. Oh, maybe it is. It's going to list a whole bunch of different things. So I think it's a wonderful website to explore. Here's a whole bunch of things for coming back to school on the first days of school. So if you're interested in HyperDocs, you can page through the presentation that I've linked to that I have done with my district and check out hyperdocs.co and look at the samples and the templates that they have available on there. That concludes my presentation. So are there any other questions or insights or tools that you're familiar with that you would like to share with us here? Well, I wish you all good luck with starting our school year. And we are just going to be very gracious with ourselves and each other and figure it out as we go. So we'll see how it goes.